In the previous video, we spoke a little about basic Hadoop security features and what is a problem with the Hadoop security and secure deployments. And today I want to talk a little bit about some of the advanced features in a Hadoop ecosystem and what you can do to secure your systems even further to comply with certain requirements and certain security compliance, regulations. So generally, the next step you would do to go beyond the basic Hadoop deployments is you would introduce a strong authentication. So you don't rely, on just trusting a client, the user connecting by this client and who he says he is, right? And the way it works with Hadoop, the only other way to do that is integrating via the Kerberos. So we would introduce another component in your Hadoop cluster, which is a Kerberos server, KDC. And this server will maintain the keys for the principals and the users. And then if every service, every component in a Hadoop cluster will be connected to this Kerberos KDC server in order to authenticate, in order to verify that the user is actually who he says he is or she is. Now, this Kerberos itself can be integrated further with external systems, whether it's an LDAP server or frequently in enterprise, it's an Active Directory server with basically centralized credential management. And that adds a strong security, a strong authentication to Hadoop. Now, it's actually quite complicated to set up. It's rather fragile. You need to go through like dozens and dozens of steps. So it's not an easy process to do, and you only should do that if you really need that strong authentication capabilities. Now, the next step in securing your Hadoop is secure the network communication between the different services inside Hadoop, as well as from the Hadoop services to the user components and further outside. And usually there's some form of SSL applied to those communications and you secure it, and instead of, let's say, using HTTP protocol, you're using HTTPS protocol. Now the challenge is that there's usually like dozens of different services internally as well as the ones externalized to the end user, and they all need to be secured one by one. Things like Hive, things like Impala, HDFS access itself, and so on. And some of the services actually currently even can be secured at all, like some of the Flume deployments or like a Thrift server. So there's challenges with some of the protocols that you access secure Hadoop cluster. So in the last video we also spoke that auditing is not easy in terms of who accesses what, and the various distributions have tools that collects all the logs from various services and nodes in a cluster and put them in one sort of as a one whole, give you a single interface, so you can actually get better visibility on what a specific user did and what data they accessed and so on. And again, some of the components actually still not part of that sort of central auditing ecosystem, so be careful with that. It's not that you can use just anything with that. Finally, when it comes to encryption of data at rest, we spoke about encryption of data in transit, which is transferred between the services and to the end users. But data at rest by default isn't encrypted with Hadoop. And the way to go, usually the most common way, is that you use operating system encryption when you use a file system where HDFS put its chunks, and you encrypt that file system and manage obviously the keys appropriately, but you basically use operating system encryption on the data nodes where the data is stored. So that can solve the data at rest, encryption of data at rest. And finally, if you want to integrate your authentication with some single sign-on system and etc., the most common protocol and the components in a Hadoop ecosystem to support it is to use Spango protocol, which is basically on an HTTPS level allows you to integrate with external system and authenticate user identity against your single sign-on systems in your enterprise. So that's just a quick overview of what advanced features are available, but all of them are pretty complicated to deploy and require quite a bit of effort as opposed to just basic bare-bone Hadoop deployments. And if you have any questions on those, or if you know about something else that I didn't mention here, feel free to leave a comment and get into the discussion.